Now, we are now joined by Ambassador Azaz Chaudhry, who served as Pakistani ambassador to the United States in 2017. Thank you so much, sir, for your time. My first question is, how would you define the last 20 years of the U.S. war on terror?
Well, I think it has been a difficult and tough time for the United States in the sense that it started with the fighting terrorists, the transnational terrorists, but somehow, somewhere the goalpost shifted to nation building, and we saw as a result of that change a lot of tumult in the Middle East, in Afghanistan. So I would say the stature of United States has been tarnished because of these last 20 years, although its goal of fighting terrorism was relatively a success.
Right. So, sir, how do you think the 9/11 attacks changed America both domestically and its relationship with difficult allies or key allies such as Pakistan?
It changed a lot. In fact, I was in New York that day, and it started like a routine day, and I came out of Roosevelt Island and was accompanied by two more colleagues. And we were on the Queensboro Bridge, exact 8:45 when the first plane struck. And we didn't see it. We were engrossed in discussions. As soon as they entered our mission, I saw those horrible scenes.
Right.
I think everything changed because if you recall, after the demise of Soviet Union, a euphoric globalization had set in. Right. And the world was so excited about the interdependence that was growing. There were also moves in the United Nations to form a global socio-economic normative framework. And all that excitement suddenly was gone when 9/11 happened. And the world actually sympathized with the United States because this kind of terrorist incident was something that could have struck any other country as well. And therefore, there was a huge support that the US received, and it made the war against terrorism as its main objective. And we saw that the world started moving away from multilateralism and started moving more towards unilateralism. United States went into Iraq despite the fact that there was no sanction from the United Nations Security Council. Right. So as a result, this started a trend of unilateralism. So much has changed because of what happened in 9/11, that fateful day. Yeah.
Right. Now, let's come to the controversial aspects of the war on terror. And I would like to start off with the Bush Doctrine. Do you consider that doctrine to really reflect concerted efforts at countering terrorism globally, or was it simply to secure American safety?
I think it started in good intent because terrorism is a threat to world peace and has actually threatened every country. Right. And therefore, the lead that the United States took was correct. But somehow, as I indicated to you, the United States elites and the leadership started thinking that maybe the cause of terrorism was because of the nature of regimes that exist in the Middle East. And therefore, they thought that if Middle East, bulk of which was under dictatorial leaderships, if that could change in the form or in the image of Western liberal democracy, perhaps the world would be safer. That ran into a direct clash with the cultural ethos of that region. And you have seen that this whole Arab Spring and so-called Arab winters turned out to be a bad experience. So my sense is that the United States started well, but unfortunately the 2010s was not in the right direction.
Right, sir. Now let's come to the menace of terrorism in the form of ISIL in Afghanistan. That still haunts the region after 9/11, Washington, D.C. Do you think that Washington, D.C. missed an opportunity to nullify all terrorist groups instead of Al-Qaeda alone?
Well, I would say that the United States did fight ISIS in Syria and Iraq.
Right.
How did ISIS come to Afghanistan? Honestly, there are different views. Some even allege that maybe United States helped that, but I will not go into that. I would just say that because Afghanistan had ungoverned spaces during the rule of these regimes which were sponsored by United States, President Hamid Karzai and President Ashraf Ghani's regime, and 44% of territory of this large country, Afghanistan, was available to all kinds of terrorist entities, not just Al-Qaeda, as you rightly mentioned, but also ETIM and TTP and BLA and you name it, IMU, Al-Qaeda, and there's your most lethal ISIS, ISKP, the Islamic State in the Sun province. So all these took roots in Afghanistan. So to that extent, I would say that United States mission really did not succeed. It succeeded only to the extent of Al-Qaeda, and that too because Pakistan extended tremendous help in capturing all those Al-Qaeda operatives and bringing them to books. So therefore, you may be partially right that United States did not target all the terrorist groups. For instance, Pakistan has this big complaint that TTP leadership had a lot of space in Afghanistan.
Right.
And it was being funded by the hostile intelligence agencies, and America just looked the other way. And consequently, we see today that the threat of terrorism or the menace of terrorism has not gone away yet. And it is still lurking in the fear, and therefore, that's why there is so much attention on Afghanistan today, because people don't want Afghanistan to become a bastion of all these terrorist entities again. Yeah.
Right. Now, sir, coming to your personal reflections, obviously, as ambassador, you were in the heat of the moment during the change from the Obama administration to the Trump one. We're talking about 2017. What differences can you point out in their respective approaches towards dealing with terrorism?
I think Donald Trump was far more aggressive,
right,
even brash. You would recall that on the eve of the new year of 2018, President Trump personally issued a tweet which was highly derogatory against Pakistan.
Yes.
And naturally, Pakistanis immediately resented and responded. Secondly, President Barack Obama would engage Pakistan. There was a strategic dialogue. There were 6 working groups. And, cooperation was happening in many areas. But under Donald Trump, he did not engage with Pakistan at the leadership level or at any level. So as a result, the gulf between Pakistan and United States increased during Trump years, and that did not help cause of peace in our region. I would say that Joe Biden has to do a lot of course correction. Unfortunately, that has not yet started. I see Biden also reluctant to engage with Pakistan, and I think that will be a huge mistake if he does that. At the working level, there is, like intelligence agencies are in touch, the others are in touch. But I believe that United States and Pakistan have had such a long relationship that it is important that Joe Biden instructs his departments to establish a rather a more broad-based relationship with Pakistan than just viewing Pakistan through the prism of Afghanistan or through the prism of China.
Right, sir. Final question, because today is the 20th anniversary since the 9/11 attacks actually took place. In your view, is the post-9/11 planet a secure one?
It is not. It is certainly not, because we went astray. I think while we fought against terrorism, there were huge differences on what germinates the mindset which creates terrorism. And there was no one size fits all.
Right.
But the mistake that West thought was that maybe if their version of liberal economies and liberal democracies was imposed in that region, things will change. It doesn't work that way. And Afghanistan has shown how stark was the failure of that experiment. Afghanistan can be governed only through Afghanistan's traditions. And I hope that Afghanistan gets that peace, which we all need. The entire region needs that peace. So my sense is that United States has a lot to learn and introspect and learn from all the mistakes it may have made during the last 20 years.
Former Ambassador of Pakistan to the United States, Azaz Chaudhry, thank you so much for joining me on Indus News.
Thank you.